so much for joining us. I am here with an amazing real estate attorney that I wanted everyone to know about. So that's why I thought it was important that I bring her on my show because she's absolutely amazing. And again, I already gave it away. Yes, she's a real estate attorney, but I'll let her tell you about herself a little bit and then we'll get into giving all those real questions that you guys have sent over. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Tish. Thank you for having me. It is an honor to be here on your channel. So my name is attorney Grace Okorie-Eric. I am a real estate attorney. That's one of the major areas of my practice. I have been practicing real estate for about 12 years now. Let me see. What else would you like to know about me? I think
Where do you service clients?
I'm licensed to practice in Illinois, so I do service clients all over Illinois. I have office in Chicago and also an office in Naperville, but we've done closings everywhere from Cook Lake County, all counties everywhere. So
Okay.
basically everywhere.
Okay. Cool. Cool. So, the main reason why I brought you on is that I've had a few clients that have come to me and say, hey, you know what? Yes, I want to buy a house. Yes, I want to sell my house, but I don't need an attorney. Attorneys, I don't want an attorney. Attorneys heard bad things about them. I don't need anybody like trying to take my money. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm still going to be like, I don't need an attorney. So I need you to tell everyone for the record, why do I need a real estate attorney?
For the record, a real estate, a property purchase is that it's basically one of the biggest purchases we can ever make, or we usually make in a lifetime. And I definitely 100%. I mean, even though I'm biased and I'm an attorney, but even when I was not an attorney and I bought a house, I did get an attorney because the attorney is that one person in the mix that actually protects your interests. No shade on anyone else, but the attorney really doesn't get paid. We don't get a commission. We just want to make sure you understand the legal consequences of whatever you are entering into the contract wise. One of the things I make sure I explain to my clients when I see something crazy, like, hey, look, did you know this is what you're agreeing with? Or this is what this means. So you definitely, if anyone you need in your corner, the number one person you actually need in your corner is an attorney, because that is the only person that whose interest in the contract is really to make sure that you know what you're signing up for and you're happy with what your end result is and there are no surprises.
Okay, so now that you say that, what if, like, okay, my uncle, he's an attorney, public defender or something like that. Can't he just do it for me?
No, I mean your uncle's cool and whatnot, but I think it's definitely you need to get someone who's experienced in the real estate process, because it's yes, we're all practicing law. However, there are areas of law I would not get into, and there's something about being having a lot of experience in this area of real estate. So your uncle, yes, they want to help you, but they don't have as much as an in-depth knowledge on the contract, what is supposed to be on the contract, the rights, what we can do on your behalf, things that the sellers are supposed to do, the states, I mean, there are state laws, there are county laws, there are local laws, and all the different ordinances that guide what has to be done in a real estate transaction. So unless your uncle is about to, get in the library and learn real estate law for the next 3 months to do your deal, get you an experienced real estate attorney. It's worth it.
Okay, okay. So, I've bought a couple of houses in my lifetime, bought some buildings, and I never really, I'm going to tell you, when they say you get what you pay for, I believe that because first time I had no experience, did not know what I was doing. I just looked up somebody, found them online because they said that they charge like, $200, which, okay, I should have, red flag, I should have known, but I never heard from the guy until it was time to close. My question to you is like, in the real world, with a very experienced and knowledgeable attorney, how often do I talk to you?
Okay, so I would actually also piggyback on your story. The first time I bought a property in 2005. I was not an attorney then. I was working. This was like my life before law school, but I was not an attorney. And that attorney, it was okay, sign up, I paid. And then I didn't hear from her even when there were issues coming up. I'm sending emails like, what's going on, blah, 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 until the day of the closing. And it was so crazy with the closing because I legit can tell you that I was officially homeless. I had my stuff, I had moved out from the apartment because they had to do an inspection. Otherwise, I would have had to pay double the rent. I had it in a U-Haul truck, and I'm sitting in this truck. It was Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
That exactly. So everybody's gone. The bank is gone. Everybody's gone. I'm like, okay, are we closing? Are we closing day after Thanksgiving? What's going on? So literally Thanksgiving, I was homeless that year, 2005, and I didn't hear until the day of the closing. Like, oh yeah, we're closing. So for me, I definitely that experience just is etched in my memory of how stressful it was with the process. And one of the things that I bring into my practice is basically just communicating with the clients. Because at that point, if someone had told me, hey, Grace, this is what's going on, this is what this means, this is what you need to do, that would have saved me so much stress. So fast forward now in my practice, one of the things that I make sure that I do is just communicate with the clients. Generally, typically it's the first contract is signed. I like to do a meeting with the client, explain the process, what to expect in the process, assure you that, okay, you're freaking out, but trust me, it's not a big deal. We do this all the time. Don't be stressed out. When I need something from you, I would let you know what I need. You will give it to me. I need you to focus on the lender, which is you, and get them everything they need. Don't worry about the contract. We got this. We'll take care of it. And I carry them along throughout the process. And one of the things we do is we always will blind copy the clients on the communications so they kind of see the back and forth. They know what's going on. We don't really need you to do anything. We've requested for an extension. This is going on. So essentially, phone conversation first, emails, as the contract progresses. Sometimes we would have a call, things come up, I might have to clarify, or some of my admin might call you, or we might reach out and, on that note. And then finally, at the closing. So closing, prior to closing, we'll send you an email letting you know, hey, this is, well, we'll kind of reach out to you before the closing too, to make sure that the time and the location works for you. And then once we do that on the day of the closing or right before the closing, I'll call you, give you your final numbers, talk about doing your final walkthrough, what to look for, and also what to let me know when you do that final walkthrough. And then on the day of closing itself, I would be there with you in person. And most times now we've actually also been doing Zoom, and that's actually allowed us to be more flexible. That way you're not waiting for my, calendar if I have to travel to the closing or not. That way I can have court that morning and then just do the closing right after, and we don't have to delay it. So I guess to answer your question, I would say definitely hear from me at least 2 times, but usually more than that. And then you'll definitely hear from other people in my staff way more than that. Because yeah.
That's
So we
good to know. Like I told
do.
you, sometimes you get a little scared in that process, not hearing from anybody, and then you're like, okay,
I've
with
been there.
all the emails going back and forth, like, do I negotiate by myself? Are you negotiating for me? Like, is the realtor negotiating? Like, what's going on? Like, so, yeah. Do I do the negotiating by myself? Do I tell you, like, or?
So the negotiation process, and I don't know if other attorneys might differ from this, but my approach to it is that we're all a team. So basically, if you're the buyer, me, your attorney, your realtor, your lender, everybody on your side, we're all on your side. So everything we're doing is to make sure that you get the best deal. You get the best deal out of it, essentially. And I like to kind of keep everyone copied that way. Hey, look, realtor. So clients, yes, you can negotiate, and the negotiation for the client usually happens when they're signing the contract. So they have that agreement. Okay, I'm going to do this. There's a back and forth. All right, fine. And then we finally have a contract that's signed by the seller. And then from that point, it gets to the attorney. And then when we start that part, I look at the contract, and what I'm looking for is, okay, what is in this contract that's normal? Okay, that's normal. That's good. Are you getting the right credit? Can we get you more money? I always try to negotiate things for my client. Like, I will try to get you a home warranty. I will try to get you, an appraisal contingency, making sure that, hey, if somewhere down the line the property appraises for less than what you're trying to pay, we have a right to come back to the table and renegotiate. And then, I'll shoot my shot in a lot of things, like, well, hey, because the whole real estate process is a negotiating process. And sometimes, my thing is, look, whoever can get you a good deal, let's do it. And a lot of times through the realtors, I like to work with the realtors a lot because I'm like, hey, look, because they've seen the property, they've worked with the sellers, they're familiar with, certain things that I'm probably not familiar with. So sometimes when we're in the attorney review period and we're negotiating things, the realtor can call the other realtor like, hey, look, boom, boom, boom. They make it happen. My only request is the attorney let me know so we can put that in writing for the clients. And that way we don't
Okay.
get to closing and, no surprises. But to answer your question, I believe that everybody on the client side is involved in the negotiating process. But then ultimately the client is, if it's something where, choices have to be made or decision has to be made, ultimately I leave it to the client to say, okay, you know what, like for example, credit, how much credit do you want? Is this, is what they've come back with, is that okay with you? So they make that final decision and we move forward with the contract. Or, sometimes we might cancel, but yeah.
Okay, so like, how do I pay you with all this going on? Do I pay you up front? Like, I noticed you said before, like, something about not getting paid. Like, what if it doesn't close? Like, how do you get paid?
So I thought you could like what mode? Like you can pay Zelle, cash. I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
like Cash App, like.
All of the above. We'll take it. But in terms of the payment, so yes, the attorneys, we do put in time. We put in time into the case. We're not paid on commission. Once that contract is live, we have to start putting in hours. We have to start working on it. So one of the things we do is, okay, this is the attorney, the attorney's fees, half of it is due upfront. And we get started, we'll do the attorney review, we'll review, let everybody know, send whatever extensions we need to send. And then the final balance is not due until we get to the closing table. So if for some reason the deal falls through, which is, unusual, but if something happens, and all you're liable for is just that half upfront fee, and you're not liable for the other half of it.
That's pretty cool. And then I guess like we go under another deal, I still use you, that sort of thing. We continue the relationship. So,
Yes, yes.
okay.
I mean, and then yeah, it's the half, and most of the times when we do that, we do, offer discounts and sometimes even cross out that half and things like that. So we've had
Okay.
some clients where we worked together 3, 4, 5 houses until we found the one. So we make it happen.
Nice. So, that long term relationship you got going on, huh? Cool. So, okay. A lot of people want to know when things get going, whether they are on the listing side or on the buy side, what is the attorney review period? Because we hear so much about it, but we don't go through it until it's time. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So the attorney review period is that period in the contract. And usually, and I will preface this to say, of course, I'm licensed to practice in Illinois, so I deal with Illinois licenses specifically. No, I'm probably going to add some more states later, but usually we use a 7.0 right now. And the 7.0 has like specific language in there. And with the attorney review, it gives us a 5 business day window. Now, sometimes, and I want to, I say this to say that some contracts could be different. So it all depends on what the parties agree to. Generally, it's 5 business days for the attorney review from the point where the seller has signed the contract to, just it's almost like an open-ended window after that. So from 5 business days from the point that the seller has signed the contract, both parties have the option of making modifications to the contract, asking for clarifications to the contract, and other terms of the contract exclusive of the purchase price. So that attorney review period window is when I, as the attorney, will go, okay, let me look at this contract. Let me see what's on this contract. Okay, that looks normal. Hey, are we supposed to have this contingency because I know you're trying to sell a house and also buy a house, or I know you're trying to do this, should we need to add this? And that's when I would put all that together, even like the appraisal contingency that we talked about, the home warranty. That's when we put all that together and send it off in the attorney review letter, which also is tied into the inspection contingency. So generally, we also have that inspection contingency window, which also gives you the buyer, and this applies for the seller. The seller will not be doing the inspection. The buyer would hire an inspector, and you have to pay for this. And this is separate from the appraisal that the bank is doing. So you're essentially getting a professional to come in there with flashlights and stuff and check out the house, check out the appliances, check out everything, make sure it's working. So you know what you're walking into. And I tell clients like this inspection contingency, unless it's a new construction, Generally, every house, there's going to be something at the end of its life, which is normal. There's going to be something, a little scratch here and there, but that's also your, and then the inspector will give you a report, an inspection report detailing all of these issues. So this is pretty much your laundry list of, okay, I would like the sellers to fix this, or I can live with this. And, when I move in, these are the things I'm going to do and fix. So what we do is, once that inspection report is given to the client, they send it over to me and be like, "Hey, Grace, I would like the seller to fix this, 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 this." That being said, the seller is not obligated to make any fixes. Even if it's not an as-is contract, the seller is not obligated to make any repairs, because the whole real estate transaction process is all a negotiation process. So you can say, "Hey, seller, fix this," or, "Hey, the fuse box in the home is about to," someone says it's from 1962, it's a safety hazard, it's going to explode. So I'll be like, "Nope, it's already factored in." So there's no legal obligation to make any repairs. However, we still, both parties are still able to negotiate during this attorney review period. So, summary: attorney review period is that window after the contract has been signed, where your attorney reviews the contract and also incorporates your repair request into the what's it called, attorney letter, or correspondence that we call the attorney review letter. And we send it over to the other side, like, "Hey, this is, these are the things we like to add to the contract, clarify in the contract." And then also, I let clients know, especially on the buyer side, if there were some things that you guys agreed to, like, maybe when you went to see the house, the seller was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to put a brand new door here and a brand new door here," and it's not on the contract. You need to tell me that, so we can put that in the letter. That way there's no question of what each party's obligation under the contract is. So yes, that's the
Okay.
attorney review.
Got it. Got it. So basically, you're with us the whole step of the process from signing the contract up to closing. And
Yes.
I did have I want you to know that these questions are actual questions that have been asked by my clients. So I'm bringing them to you, and I really appreciate you answering them. Now, I did have a case, though, not even on the list of questions, where my buyer went through the whole process, got cleared to close, went through the attorney, not the attorney room, went through the final walkthrough. And here's the kicker: everything in the house that was there when they first looked at it, by the time they went through the final walkthrough, looked like a completely different house. Like there were things that were wrong that didn't, work, that, there were holes in the wall that were covered by pictures, all this kind of stuff, like a completely different place. At that point in time, do you still, am I under obligation to close because it wasn't like it was before?
So if I were on your side as a buyer, I would say, no, you're not under and we can argue that on both sides. However, that story, trust me, I've seen so many craziness that happens this final walkthrough. But my thing to the client is still, because you also have to understand, people invest a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy in finding this house. So if you get to the final walkthrough and the issue is that, okay, the house is a mess, it's not cleaned up. My question to you is, okay, we can get cleaners to clean it up. How much is it going to cost us? $1,000. Then I bring the seller's attorney, like, "Hey, look, what the heck? Why is this place like this? We are ready to close. We're this. You guys are going to be in breach, but we're going to go ahead and close this. But we're going to need you to give us $1,000 escrow, to clean it. So we can do." And that's a lot of the things that I do, and we've done it so many, because trust me, almost always there's something wrong. There's either things they agreed to do when the attorney review was not done when we get to the closing. Yes, holes in the wall. People were moving furniture and they busted out a window. The garage is full of stuff. They still have all their crap in the basement. So those things, I tell buyers, they're not really reasons for you to want to walk away from the deal, because you want this house. But at the closing table, there are still ways to do it. So we would do like a post-closing escrow. We would do a post-closing escrow. Like, okay, sometimes we could, sometimes the seller would say, "Oh yeah, we're going to take that. The trash is coming on Wednesday to get it." I'm like, "No, no, no. We're closing today. Wednesday's there. What if they don't come? I don't want to deal with that. I don't want clients calling me because my attorney representation ends right now, and my client's not going to incur additional attorney's fees trying to resolve this issue. So how about we do this? You give us, like $1,500, like you're putting it down, as a guarantee that this is going to be done on Wednesday. And then we have an agreement saying, hey, if this is not done on Wednesday, my client has the right to get it done themselves and take that money from the pot. And, we're done with this issue. So
Nice.
that being said, yes, if we do have any final walkthrough issues, it's not a reason to walk away from the deal. We always can work around it. And almost always happens on every deal. Even sometimes we've gotten to closing where it's the sellers are like, so we were gonna move yesterday and the apartment is not gonna be ready until 2 weeks, and my client's like, we had to close today, we can't wait, especially if we had some rate lock issues where the client had to close the deal right there. And we can also negotiate at this point some post-closing escrow agreements where it's like, okay, fine, you stay in this property, for the next 2 weeks. However, you're going to be paying the clients this amount every day to
Oh,
cover their
wow.
expenses for the property, cover the inconvenience, whatever. And then when we get to that point where you're supposed to move, I like to, triple the amount. Like, look, you're paying $100 a day and you're staying for 2 weeks. By 2 weeks and one day, you're going to be paying $1,000 a day. So that's an incentive for them. And then when we do that, also, they also put money down in that escrow pot so that way we're not chasing them to try to get the money. The agreement is already in place that if this
Okay.
happens, this is what happens. If this happens, this is what happens. And we also, make sure to spell out this whole arrangement is not a landlord tenant agreement. So my client doesn't have to go through the eviction process to get you out as a seller. Like, we can literally come in there and change the locks. Okay. But yeah, we haven't had to do it because usually the escrow amount that also make sure it covers your utilities and also any other incidentals in case they damage something else while they're moving out after that closing date. So yeah, issues post closing is really not an issue. Almost always happens, but we always work around it to make sure that you're good.
Nice. Okay. Well, I thank you so much for joining us and answering all of my questions. But last question, and this is just to you because you came on the show, and I think I covered everything that my clients ask about. But is there something that I missed or something that you want to add?
I mean, I think I would reiterate the fact that you definitely need an attorney in your process. And in
And I
Illinois,
can't
the
use my uncle who
no,
doesn't
please
practice real estate.
don't. No, not Uncle Ray Ray. No, don't use him. Because he doesn't know. And trust, and even in what's it called, in Illinois, generally the attorney fees, it's very low, which I think it's like ridiculous low. However, you're looking at attorney fees from like 1,600 to 1,500, which in my opinion, you are getting into these transactions worth 100 and something thousands. It's totally worth it. And I can tell you for sure that every one of my cases, I have saved my clients from $100 to like $20,000, like $20,000 in what's it called, in just checking those numbers at closing, because the seller will give you the number. Okay, this is what it's supposed to be, this is what the numbers are, and you look at it and it kind of makes sense, but you need someone who knows what those calculations are actually supposed to be. And also, if like the legal background behind it too, like, okay, yeah, the taxes are zero, but when I move in, it's going to be 20,000, but then you are getting zero taxes, but you were not really supposed to get zero taxes. So you're not going to give me zero. You need to give me what you, so that those kind of things and those kind of nuances. And, I've had cases where, oh, there's a fee, a title, like a fee for like a wire transfer. I'm like, no, there was no wire in this deal. So let's, take that off. So things like
Okay.
that, you definitely need an attorney in the process. And I think for the price that you pay or the cost of it, don't go cheap. It's it's a big ticket investment that you're making. And the attorney definitely, I mean, they earn their money back. That investment in knowing that you were protected, and also knowing that you got the best deal that you could get.
I like the sound of that because I love saving money. So it's definitely worth it. Well, Grace, let us know how we can reach you, and I will post your contact information here as well. So,
Okay, thank you very much. So you can reach me. I'm on Instagram and Facebook because everybody does that these days. It's Okorie-Eric.law. So Okorie-Eric.LAW. Please post it. That's on Instagram and Facebook. Office number is 312-619-0564. Or you can also email us as at info@ericlawgroup.com. That's ERICLAW group.com. And the website, of course, is www.ericlawgroup.com.
Awesome. Again, thanks so much for joining us. We have
You're
fun.
welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care.
You too.